Good morning, Miss Laura.
Good morning, Tiana.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Oh, it's a day. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, Deanna.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'll get my camera on in a sec. I'm trying to get dressed before the meeting.
Oh, no worries. I won't hammer you about the camera, I promise. Happy to have you here. That's all that matters on Wednesdays. Okay, we'll give it just a minute or two and then we're going to dive in today. Okay, good morning. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're on record. So when you hopped into the Zoom this morning, you probably saw that reminder. So thanks if you're here live or if you're catching this on recording. We're trying to continue on our organization path. We spent every Wednesday in March tackling a different component of our business where things just tend to feel chaotic or maybe in disarray. That if we could get a little, spring cleaning, a little organization to those places, that we could feel overall the benefit of that sort of the mindset benefit of being organized, whether it be with our contacts, reducing the amount of paper in our lives, getting our dollars and cents sort of together. And the idea is that along the way, each of these conversations that we have every Wednesday, how can we leverage free or close to free technology to make this whole process easier, to make our lives feel like they're running a little bit more smoothly, feel like we have processes in place so that we can really concentrate on the relationship aspect of our business and not on all the other stuff that seems to get in the way and weigh us down. So what we're going to talk about today and every Wednesday in April. Geez, if we turn that corner, we're in April now. We're going to really focus on marketing. Today, we're going to begin with the basics. And there's a reason for that, because I think there are a lot of people who sort of skip over these initial points that we're going to talk about today. And then it makes other aspects of your marketing more challenging, more time consuming, more difficult to sort of figure out and define. So if we talk about the basics today, a little bit of what's going to be built in there is you thinking about marketing strategy, not just about the processes and the technology, but really defining who you are as a real estate agent, what you want your brand to look like, and how you can build your marketing processes around that, okay, to make life easier for you, to stay in front of people on a consistent, regular basis, okay? So here's some questions. We always like to start. These are the things that you kind of want to have in your mind today as you go through and hear the presentation. First of all, for only you to answer, on a scale of 1 to 10, think about the consistency of your business branding. When you think about whatever you're doing right now to market yourself, how would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10? And a really important word not to overlook there is consistency. Okay. Are you carrying the same branding and theme from one platform to the next? So, and we'll talk about these things in a minute, but from your resume to your business cards, to your website, to your print marketing, to your social media marketing, all of those things, how consistent are you in how you're branding your business? How do you handle meetings with new clients? Do you find that you're leveraging materials that you've already set up and put in place, or are you always scrambling to put materials together at the last minute? That's something to consider. Also, how much time do you spend preparing? And that time spent preparing, is it just trying to organize basic information, or are you really concentrating on the specifics of that particular property or that particular client's needs? Okay. And then long term, can you recognize that your branding and your marketing, how people view those components of your business, are going to be a reflection of how people perceive your entire business? So if you come across as polished, professional, concise, defined, sort of respected in your branding and your marketing image, then that perception is going to translate to your business as a whole, and your client base will benefit from it. Okay. So here's the things that we're going to concentrate on today. We're going to really look at the basics, going back to the beginning, because so many people do skip over these components and then find themselves in the scrambled eggs, trying to make up time each time they have a new client to get in front of. We're going to just talk, and we're not going to build an actual resume, but I just want to show you some examples from a marketing standpoint of how, if you don't have these things in place, or you find that there's no cohesive flow from one of these things to the next, that's where I just want to point some tips out to you today that you might find helpful. And then your homework will be to walk away and get your resume on paper, digital paper, of course. Update your website, make sure that there is consistent and connective branding between those two. I'll just remind you of what happens when marketing goes bad. This is not about marketing strategy specifically, but we're trying to bring organization to our marketing. So it's worth mentioning what happens when marketing isn't effective, right? I don't remember this. I remember New Coke. I don't know for anybody watching, if you date yourself, if you remember when Coke attempted to introduce New Coke and do away with the good old classic Coke, that was like an epic fail because it was Coke's effort to compete with another brand rather than recognize that the brand that they had a very strong customer following. So again, recognizing how important branding is and marketing and knowing your audience as you build these materials out. The other thing that I was interested to come upon in doing some research is that I never knew that Colgate actually tried to launch a whole line of like readily made foods. Like, I don't know about you, but I look at that rice bowl and I think it tastes like toothpaste. And that's just, I think, a mental block. So it's, again, creating marketing pieces that are truly reflective of you, how you run your business, and what message you want to get across to your clients and potential clients. Okay. So let's look on the flip side of that, just to give us some ideas of where does branding go right? And why does it benefit you to sort of long-term build something that shows consistency? You're not going to put together a resume and a website, a business card, and all these other products today and step out, into the world tomorrow and feel like people know who you are and recognize your brand. Brand recognition takes time, it takes consistency, and you have to stay on top of it. It's like, feeding a plant. You have to continually feed into it in order to get the result out of it. But I just wanted to throw out 3 examples to you. Certainly Nike, I think everybody can recognize pretty quickly the just do it concept. It's been around for many, many years and it continues to work. So there's this sort of adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Snickers probably in the last 10 years went through a bit of a reinvention where they really, through effective marketing, find themselves as not just a great candy bar, but the direction to go in when you're hungry and need to get back to your sort of more normal, happy self. Again, very effective. And then the last one I've included here is Dove, which you might not expect to see on a real estate presentation. But I think what was important about this campaign is just as you go through thinking about who your audience is, recognize that when Dove created their Real Women, Real Beauty campaign, they thought about who their audience was. They knew that they wanted to appeal to sort of the everyday woman, and they created a campaign that would speak to them, where women specifically could look at an ad and see themselves and identify with the products and messaging that Dove was trying to convey. Okay, so again, just to drive the point home that as you think about your business and your style, your messaging is going to be really important. You defining who you are. If you have a specialty, if you have designations that you really lean into, if you work particularly with military clients or with investors, if you are really effective at referral, in the referral space, whatever your niche is, if you have expertise in staging, if you work with bank-owned assets, whatever it is, understand that and lean into that and make sure that you're appropriately conveying that in the materials that I'm telling you should build out today, okay? Along those lines, when you think about your messaging, it's important to not overlook color schemes. What appeals to you? What do you think is a reflection of you? Fonts, same thing, be consistent. Photos that you used. Don't use one photo on your business card, a different photo on your website, another photo on your listing presentation. Certainly, they don't have to be the exact same image, but let me give you an example. If we go back here to Colgate, let's say I was trying to put together a presentation about Colgate. If I show, rice bowls and Colgate in one platform, and then I turn around and show toothpaste and Colgate in another platform, the consumer's confused by that. There's no connection, there's no consistency. So it's like in one platform on your business card, having a picture with your dogs, and then in another platform, having pictures in, say, maybe a suit in a professional environment. It's just, there's not a connection there, right? So don't overlook those things. I also mentioned logo because a lot of agents will come to me and say, how do I get a logo? Where do I go? Do I need a logo? The answer is no, you don't need a logo. That's a personal preference for you. You have the brokerage logo and you want to make sure that you're always following compliance guidelines around use of that logo. But it's not required that you have one. You can create an effective marketing and branding image without a logo. Color schemes, fonts, and other graphics can do the job just as effectively. As I said, it's important to know your audience, know who you're trying to reach as clients, and then think about your tone. And probably the best advice that I saw around this is to define your tone with 3 adjectives. So if you like to be more, if you tend to be more professional or more sort of, do I dare say the word, maybe motherly, or nurturing or funny, maybe humorous, you like to go about interacting with clients and always maintaining a sense of humor. Think about what those 3 adjectives would be that describe you, because that's going to help you as you work through these materials today, building these things out. If you don't have them in place, or if you do, go back and review them from this lens, from a consistent marketing lens. So these are the systems that we're going to kind of concentrate on for today. As an EXP agent, you have access to a marketing center. It's already paid for in your $85 tech and education fee. We are going to lean in hard to understand what's going on in that marketing center. Because I could tell you firsthand, where it is today 2 years after I came to the brokerage, this resource has grown exponentially. So if you haven't been there in a while, it's time that you revisit it. And we're going to do a little bit of that today so that you can not feel like you have to reinvent or create these things from scratch. We're going to leverage technology and templates that are already there for us to build from. Okay. We're also going to take a look at Canva. Canva's become like a new favorite tool of mine. I have to be honest with you. You can go free with Canva, or you can upgrade to a modestly priced. I pay $12 or $13 a month. That's the one that I choose to do. It unlocks some additional access with templates and fonts and graphics and functionality. And for me personally, in my business and what I do, that $13 is a great investment. I really enjoy working with the platform. I'll show you a little bit of it today. And then the other one I want to introduce you to, for those of you who maybe haven't tested it out yet, I'm sure you've probably heard some mention on the Tuesday Masterminds about Chat GPT. Certainly, if you were with Tristan Ahamada last week, you heard him talking about artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about a tangible way, like today, you can finish up on the Zoom and you can go right into Chat GPT and effectively start using it in your business. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's start with a few things. Like I said, we're not building a resume today. That's not what this training is about. But what we want to talk about is how you start to demonstrate that consistency. Don't forget about your business cards. So we're going to kind of throw that in the mix too. I encourage you with your resume. Again, let's not try to start everything from scratch. If you don't have one, work from a template. Canva is a great place to do that. Canva has a ton of different resume templates that can speak to your different aesthetic or color schemes. And then all you have to do is follow the prompts and fill in the blanks with your information. Make sure that you're reviewing your resume at least annually, right? Update it for new awards, new production achievements, anything professionally or personally that might need updating in your life. Make sure you're touching your resume at least once a year. Make sure that it's easy to read and that it's aesthetically pleasing. Don't try to cram everything onto one page and suddenly nobody knows where to go or where to start or what your message or who you are. At the end of the day, all of these things that we're talking about today, between your resume and your business card, your website, your presentations, buyer and seller presentations, these should all be materials that help the consumer feel like they're getting to know you. They're getting to like you, and certainly they're getting to trust you with their business. Okay. So as long as you sort of always maintain that as your motivation, you're trying to build know, like, and trust. So let's take a look. I want to show you an example. And this is somebody that I work with. I kind of changed her name a little bit so her personal information wouldn't be plastered like everywhere all over our training today. But this is a Canva generated resume. And the idea here is that I had conversations with the agent and really understood, and we'll say she's Jane, really understood, what Jane liked in terms of aesthetics and what she wanted to convey. Jane does a lot of work in the bank-owned space. So she wanted a resume that felt modern and crisp, and she liked a certain color scheme. She really likes golds, blacks, whites, and grays. So we built off of that. Okay. So this is her resume. Notice following those schemes. Then take a look at her business card. So see how if you go back and forth between the resume and the business card, there's consistency. Okay. That's what you want to be going for. If she had this resume with this color scheme, these font styles, and then suddenly you came here and you saw a picture of her with, Frisbees in the park, there's no connection there. And so people take a step back and say, well, what is Jane trying to convey to me? I don't know what type of agent Jane is, and I'm not really getting a clear picture of how she runs her business. So think about that as you're organizing your resume and your business card. The other thing too, to just show you a little bit further how consistency is important, is Jane carried it into her website as well. So take a look here at the aesthetic of the website. Again, the color schemes, the golds, the blacks, the whites, and the grays. Okay. So taking it from one place to the next in a way that feels like it's a continual extension of the person and the way that they manage their business. Does that make sense? It's not rocket science, right? But at the same time, so many of us overlook how important it is to invest time up front in thinking some of these things through. And part of the reason that we feel so chaotic down the road is because we haven't done the work up front to get these things right. Just a reminder on your website that just like your resume, you should be touching it regularly, at least quarterly. Resume maybe once a year, but at least once a quarter on your website. Make sure that your testimonials stay fresh. And again, imagine the consumer's experience, whether it's reading your resume, being handed your business card, or visiting your website. How can that particular marketing piece of marketing material help the consumer get to know, like, and trust you? Okay. So from there, I want to spend a little bit of time really touring the marketing center. And for anybody who's here with us now, do you have experience in the marketing center? Have you leveraged it for any of your marketing efforts so far? And if you have, what do you think?
I ordered my signs. Hi, Diana.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
Good.
I ordered my for sale signs from the marketplace. They're actually very good. And I'm waiting to order more signs, but they usually run 30% promotion. And it saves a lot of money when you order during the
sure.
promotion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you will find, to Sarah's point, you will find vendors that EXP partners with through the marketing center. Beyond that, even before you get to like the third party vendors, EXP works really hard in their marketing department to continue to build out new products that you can leverage here in the marketing center at no cost. So this is you being able to step right in here, log right in. You go to expmarketingcenter.com, log in with your EXP passport, and you'll find a ton of products, whether you want to print those products or use them in digital form to either market yourself, market a property, market an open house. You'll find things that are meant for social media. You'll find things that are meant for mobile shares, and you'll find things that can work in PDF or print form. What I want to make sure that you know exists, and again, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel here. There are some great listing presentations and buyer presentations that you should be using here in the marketing center. If you come into the center and you go up to products and you just look under presentations, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of these. We're not going to, again, I'm not going to train on how to actually do this, but it's really very simple. When you go into the listing design, for example, you just click on choose design. What I like is that you have multiple options. And I've already gone ahead and downloaded the PowerPoint presentations here. There are 2 different ones to choose from. And I'm just going to work you through a couple of pages just so you could get a sense of the different aesthetics. And then I also want to just go over this mobile presentation as well, because we've talked a lot about how important it is that technology work for you in your business. So here's one of the 2. Now, when you download these, you can, if you want, work here from within the marketing center to build out the presentation. But I always recommend, if you are working with something like this, where it shows you that it's in PowerPoint form, I encourage you to download it. If you don't have PowerPoint, if you don't have Microsoft's suite of products, no problem. Actually, you could go to Google Slides will provide you with the same exact functionality. And I actually pulled a presentation into Google Slides just so I can prove that I'm not fibbing there. So, but let me show you a little bit about these 2 presentations. So you have, here's one listing presentation. This one happens to be, I think it's 20 some pages, 22 pages long. I'm going to be honest with you. In my personal opinion, 22 pages is too much, too long. And kind of, you're, I think, going to lose the focus and attention of your client if you try to get through 22 slides before you get to the nitty gritty of, okay, can I list your house? Okay, this happens to be, like I said, a listing presentation. But the good news about that is that you have 22 slides to choose from so that you can go in and remove easily, either in PowerPoint or Google Slides, the slides that you don't want, and then customize the ones that you do. Okay. So there's a lot of really good, like again, like I said, like a starting point, a template. You're not trying to think up content. You're just following the prompts that this presentation gives you to fill in things that are pertinent to you. So for example, you'll see like here in this bullet point, what does realtor mean? And then the bullet point says, add in any other point you'd like to include. Okay, so here the template itself does allow for and encourage personalization. So you don't just want to download it, put your photo in and print it out. There is a little bit of work to be done, but follow the prompts, let it do the heavy lifting and take advantage of these aesthetics, right? Now, let's just say back to my point originally that my color scheme, maybe I tend to go more towards natural or warm colors, as opposed to when we looked at Jane Doe and we looked at a color scheme that was sort of modern with golds and blacks and grays. That's the beauty of downloading presentation into PowerPoint or Google, because you can very easily from either of those platforms change your design theme to be more in line with that color scheme and aesthetic that you're looking for. So let's say, for example, I liked this layout or sort of this, that's what I want, like it, not an ombre, but something along those lines where you can see the color shift, but maybe I didn't want to go with green. Then you can just very easily look at all the choices that I have working right from PowerPoint. So I could find something that appeals to me that sort of is in line with my website. And easily, all I have to do is click on it. And not only does it take that theme for the first slide, it carries that theme through the entire presentation. So these are like some sort of quick hits, right? That you can build something that, again, can, promotes consistency of you and your brand without you having to sit there and figure out how to make that happen. Okay, with this is like easy on the elbow grease, if you will. Okay, the other one I just wanted to show you, I think I put in Google Slides. This one is one of the older listing presentations that EXP created. This one I remember being around right around 2 years ago when I came into the brokerage. This one is going to have sort of more representation of that original blue and orange aesthetic, where we see them more current creation and content moving away from that, moving more towards the black and white. But again, if this is something that you like and lean into and you like the aesthetic, it's there for you. Okay, just the idea that you're not starting from scratch. This is another long one. This is 23 pages. But again, when you download it, you have the ability to remove or modify to your liking and to help work around your branding and messaging. Okay. The other thing that I just wanted to show you too was that there's also a really good buyer presentation, which just like the listing presentation helps you to set expectations, explain who you are, what your credentials are, how the process works, what your strategy is in selling a home. You have a buyer presentation here too that does the same thing. So again, the goal is to have a presentation for either a seller or buyer that you can use for every single seller or buyer presentation that you have, okay? That you don't have to go in and modify this presentation for the clients that you're meeting with. Where you'll spend your time modifying or building something unique is in your CMA or in the properties that you're going to tour, or in the conversation that you have with buyers around pre-approval or the mortgage process, or how to find the right home. But these items themselves, the whole reason that they're part of a presentation on organization is because these are things that you should build once, have in your back pocket at all times, so that they can consistently be a part of your overall marketing build that you just grab and go. Okay, grab and go. That's the idea here. You could do the same thing from a PowerPoint or a Google Slides download. Go ahead and edit the design, modify it to your liking. And if you want to pare it down, this one's a little bit smaller, probably about half the size, which I think ultimately is more in line with where you want to be. I think 8 to 12 slides is really kind of a sweet spot. And then the other thing that I just wanted to point out is that you do have a mobile presentation, which is actually super cool. This is going to look very similar to the more modern, the black and white aesthetic that we looked at first on the listing presentation side. But your ability here, you modify it, you edit it right from within the marketing center. And once you're ready to share it, if you click into it and you work from it, once you're ready to share it, you can actually share it directly with the cell phone number, and you can send it to yourself first if you wanted to test it out. But then you can send this directly to your clients simply by clicking on share. And it comes across, I've actually tested this out. I've utilized it. It comes across as a really crisp, professional, and well thought out presentation on your mobile phone. So again, all tying back to our original concept of, if you let technology, and in this case, in our conversation today, if you let branding and marketing and technology work for you, you're going to convey a really effective and sort of credible business model. You're going to give the perception to the potential client that you have your act together. Okay, so, and these again are just all things that are readily available to you. The other thing that's great about the Marketing Center, which I don't even think I have to mention, but I will, is that you don't have to worry about compliance with branding and with how you are using logos, how you're representing yourself as a licensed realtor, because these platforms, these products were already built with compliance in mind. Okay, so again, presentations wise, if you haven't gone in there, I encourage you, between the listing presentation and the buyer presentations, really, really good content there to build off of. And you'll see on the buyer side, here was that 12-page slide presentation, and then they have the mobile presentation as well. Okay, so lean into those things wherever you can and let them work for you. The other thing I just wanted to spend a little bit of time showing you is Canva. Does anybody use Canva for anything at all in your business or even in your personal life today? I love Canva. It was a little bit of a learning curve for me. I'm not gonna steer you in the wrong direction there. But once I got going and tested a few things and learned how Canva saves my designs, sometimes when I don't want it to, it really has become sort of more and more my go-to source of sort of when I need to create a quick graphic, maybe some of you have seen too, even creating our Wellness Edge graphics, I've been leveraging Canva. It's just super simple. They have a ton of templates to work from. So going back to your branding and your sort of aesthetic, you can search by theme, you could search by color scheme, you could, I've gone in, like when I went in and was interested in something for wellness, for example, I literally just typed in the word wellness and was just looking for some inspiration in a template to begin from. And Canva just comes up with endless numbers of possibilities and inspiration that you can then import, like I did here with Dr. Hamawi, and then modify it and maybe change the background, change the color scheme. But it's very cost-effective, $12 a month that I'm paying to have access to all of these additional templates, which I really like. And then when you are ready, you can tie your Canva account directly to your social media so that you could post things directly to Facebook. You could generate PDFs or JPEGs, images. The way that you share It allows you to download in multiple formats. So if you have any interest at all and feel like you need to do a better job around your social media, want to build a certain look that you could sort of, again, going back to what I'm saying about having consistent imagery, leveraging the same color schemes and the same fonts and the same look, feel, aesthetic, so that people get to know, like, and trust you. If we haven't driven that home yet, Canva, I think, is a really, really great tool for that. So I encourage you to take a look into it. And if you have any specific questions about it, how to use it, and maybe even want to do like a sort of a one-on-one tutorial, I'm happy to do that. I've done a lot of things with different agents on my team. We created, let me see if I can find the original one. We created an aesthetic, a post for our team's production for last year. And then what I was really easily able to do is that for any team member that wanted to go ahead and use this graphic, I could simply go in and modify it and update it for the team members. Let me see if I can just find you an example. Laura, I'm going to share yours since you're here. So we made a copy of it for Laura, and we're able to very easily and quickly just put in Laura's image, Laura's name, that she could then share in social media. She could distribute through email, however she wanted to share that messaging with her clients. So the idea is that if you can put a background aesthetic in place that you really like, that complements all of your other marketing materials really well, when you do have a new post or you want to get your daily messaging out, it's really easy to jump into Canva, leverage those templates and go. Okay. It's really important that you, in an effort to be consistent, that you make this as easy as possible. Does that make sense?
Yes, Diana, I use Canva for my flyers. They look so pretty, and I go door knocking and I pass them to the people, and I love it. And then I shared it with a couple of my co-workers in the office, and like you said, oh, what they did, they just modified it, put their personal information and their photo.
It's really a very, did you find too, Sarah, that it was a pretty easy platform to learn? Not
100%.
terribly difficult, right? Yeah.
100%.
A lot of really cool functionality there too.
Yes.
So if you do like to play around with like animations, or if you do have sort of a humorous side and you like to do, more of a like cartoon feel, or, if you like different photos or graphics, I mean, there's just so much to choose from there. And if you're in that place where you're looking at this today and you're saying, yeah, I need to get myself organized in all of these things. I don't have a go-to listing presentation. I don't have a go-to resume. I do need to understand what my branding message is going to be. Canva is a great place to go for inspiration. And like I said, when we did Jane Doe's resume, when I worked with Jane, that's where we started, was understanding what her aesthetic was going to be. And we literally searched resume templates that worked with that image. And it was super, super simple. And then it's just a matter of filling in your information. So for sure, I'm glad that you can testify to that, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. So we talked about listing presentation. We talked about buyer presentation. The other two things that I just want to go back and circle around are CMA, and then make sure, if you haven't tried it yet, I have a great place for you to dip your toe in the ChatGPT artificial intelligence waters today. The CMAs have been around for a long time, right? Talking about your comparative market analysis. This is where each and every time you're meeting with a new client, if you're looking at these 6 things, this is where you should be spending most of your time, right? Because this is where your expertise, your professional opinion are going to absolutely matter the most in how you price that property for sale. Or on the flip side of that, if you're working with buyers, how you help them understand the importance of making a good offer, a strong offer in the marketplace that we're in. Okay. So what I just wanted to, since we're on that topic today, what I want to make sure that everybody knows, because I think I've plugged it quite a bit over the course of the last year, maybe year and a half, is that platform within KV Core called Core Present. So if you're not familiar, if you log into your KV Core dashboard, so again, as an EXP agent, if you don't have your KV Core account activated, do it now. You should absolutely be leveraging this incredible CRM. It also gives you your website.
Deanna, is that feature
then.
free, or is it we have to pay for it extra?
Core Present?
Yes.
Core Present is part of your standard KV Core account. It's not an add-on.
Okay.
So you absolutely, if you haven't before, and what I can do is I actually do have a recorded training class on how to use it and how to navigate it a little bit that I can send to you. But it's an incredible interactive CMA. What I love about it is that, yeah, sure, I'll get that out to you.
That would be great. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, sure. What I love about it, and let me just show you the presentation, is that when we talk about needing to be effective in the technology space and needing to be able to demonstrate that with our clients, the Core Present platform within KV Core does exactly that. So I'm just going to move all my Zoom icons out of the way here, but this is, remember, going to give you the ability to set the parameters of your CMA. So what you're looking at now is on the consumer side, what the consumer will see as an end result product of what you've built as the agent on the back end. So when I'm building, I'll have the ability to pull properties in or eliminate properties from the scope. And you can do that in real time. So if you create more strict parameters that don't deliver enough results that you feel don't appropriately convey what's going on in the market, then you expand your criteria. But this is all stuff that you can do within Core Present at no extra charge. To Veronica's question, you give really good visual examples of where a particular property in terms of the listing price might fall within what's happening in other parts of the market, with what's closed, with what's pending, and with other inventory when it exists, where your potential listing might fall in what I describe as a price line. Okay. This is all interactive. So as the consumer receives this in email, for example, as a link, or if you're sitting at your listing presentation, so you've pulled out your standard go-to listing presentation that touts all of your credentials, all of your background, and the importance of working with you, what your listing strategy would be. Then you pivot to this CMA, again, polished, effective, technology-based, that's also interactive. So the consumer can click on any of these links to learn more information about what's happening in their marketplace at that given time. And it's all branded to you. So again, to get to that, you want to go into your EXP dashboard. You want to head down to, let's see, it was just there. It's under marketing. And in your marketing submenu, you'll see Core Present. And once you go to Core Present, it's going to open another window. But again, you're staying within KV Core. You have the ability to share it with your contacts from within KV Core. You can create links that you can embed in an email and share. And this is a really great tool to use both with buyers and sellers when you're trying to convey exactly what's going on in the market. And especially when you're dealing with clients that benefit from visual experience, CMA is going to do a really good job for you. So again, I encourage you, if you have never explored this before, this is a perfect example of when you prepare to work with a client, this type of marketing activity is where you should be spending your time. This is where your expertise needs to go. Everything else that we've sort of talked about up until this point, you should get to the point where it's grab and go. Okay. All right. So good. So Veronica, I'm glad that we got to introduce you to to Core Present today. The last thing I just want to show you, because I'm certain everyone's heard about it by now, but today we're going to actually test it out a little bit. We're going to look at ChatGPT. If you've never experienced it before, I encourage you to give it a try. This is a free platform, at least for now. Can't say how long it'll be that way, but you can simply, if you just Google Chat GPT, but the address is chat.openai.com. There is some security that you need to get through. You need to register your email, and then you need to register your cell phone in order to be able to begin using this particular platform. But once you do that, there's no cost. You're not prompted for a credit card, nothing like that. Once you get to that point, you're going to have a pretty vanilla looking screen where all the platform is waiting for is your prompt. And what you may have heard, certainly, I think Tristan and Jean were discussing it last week, that Chat GPT and the artificial intelligence around it, the output and the quality of the output that you get from Chat GPT is going to directly relate to the quality of the prompt that you feed into the platform. So let's say, for example, and where I think that you can really effectively use this as a quick hit, I would say, is when you're trying to come up with your listing description for the MLS. How many times have you read a description written by another agent and you've been like, oh boy, that leaves a lot to be desired? Or on the flip side of that, how many times have you read descriptions and then look at the pictures and you're like, was this person really at this property? Because this description just described a castle, but the pictures don't convey the same thing. Well, if you've been on either end of that, then you can appreciate how the quality of the higher the quality of your description, the more likely you are to get sort of favorable response about the listing itself, right? You're trying to convey a certain perception of the property. Sometimes writing is not our strong suit. Sometimes we just lack inspiration, and sometimes just having a framework and a starting point can save us so much frustration. It's kind of like having the template versus having a blank screen. So here's what we're going to do. I tried it, and then I'm going to ask one of you to throw in a property. If you want to throw in a property that you've either settled recently or that you have currently listed, and let's test it out and see what it does. I took a property that I know here in Marlton. It's an N-unit townhome, and all I said, my prompt, I kept very short. I wasn't very specific, but I said, create a description for 37 Jessica Court, Marlton. That's all I put. And Chat GPT literally came up with the 150 words or so that you see here about 37 Jessica Court. Now, as I'm reading it, I can tell you that I would say maybe 80% of what's here is accurate. Okay. There are a couple of things that need to be adjusted. I'm trying to remember where that was when I did it this morning. I think there was one issue. There's not a walk-in closet in the master bedroom. There is a large closet, but I wouldn't describe it as a walk-in. But take a look. I mean, how it came up with a quiet cul-de-sac. It pulls in the square footage. It pulls in the acreage, mentions that the property is fully fenced. How it came up with the description that there's granite in the kitchen is honestly beyond me. So remember, total disclosure here, if you're going to leverage something like Chat GPT to create your property descriptions for MLS, absolutely incredible starting point, but you have to do your due diligence to make sure at the end of the day, everything that description is generating for you is accurate, okay, and is a true reflection of the property. Rochelle, so that's awesome. So yes, a little bit of tweaking, right? So does anybody have a property? Do you want to give it a try? And yes, Canva is a rabbit hole, Rochelle.
Okay,
Or
let's,
does- and-
can we,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
can we
tell me,
try
Sarah.
2088? Berwyn, BERWYN, Berwyn. Street in Union.
And that's 2088, right?
Yes,
Okay. Whoop.
it didn't come up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I needed to create a new chat. That was my problem. So create a description for 2088 Berwyn Street, you said, right?
Yes, in Union.
In Union. Oh, maybe I need to log out and log back in. Now that's really interesting. Really interesting, because I've done multiple properties on here and I've never gotten this response before.
Oh, maybe because it's closed already? Berwyn?
It shouldn't matter because we're not, let me see, let's see. I did the same thing here, create a description. Let's try.
Try.
Oh, wow.
So this is a professional location of a title office in Somerset County. I'm wondering if is there anything unique about that property, Sarah, in Union that you could
No.
think might be?
Honestly, nothing. You can try my house. And
Wanna
then you guys
try-
can send me gifts. Yeah, oh wait, this is gonna be on YouTube, right? Never mind.
Yeah. I don't think you want to do your house.
No.
But so that's really interesting. So I don't have access to current. Okay. So that's part of what, and Tristan sort of alluded to this when he was speaking last week on our Tuesday mastermind, that with artificial intelligence right now, its sort of sphere and its look back is short. So it's only going back to 2021, but it's the progression of the technology is really, it's pretty incredible, honestly, because it almost gets smarter with every prompt and response that it generates. So as it handles more inquiries, more queries, and produces more results, it learns and adjusts and almost like expands its knowledge base. And it's hard to think of something that way because it almost feels like it has a little bit of a brain. So what that tells me is that there's no footprint on this property, 2088 Berwyn, over the last 2 years on the internet. Would that make sense? Sarah, to you? Do you think that has anything happened on that property that you're aware of? Has it been sold?
Yeah, I sold this in November or December.
Really? So that's
Yes.
really interesting why it wouldn't find it. So I'm curious to see how this continues to evolve, because then I put in this property, on Main Street, which I know is a commercial property
Yeah.
that has gone through it's had a lot of, it's a title property that we have in Somerville,
And the address is correct, 2088 Berwyn Street.
Berwyn.
Yeah.
And it's definitely Union.
Correct. Oh, maybe
Interesting.
Union, does it have to be Union Township?
Let's try it.
Okay.
Here you go.
Oh, wow. Who would have known that it would make a difference?
Union Township. So I guess in an odd sort of way, in an awkward sort of way, it does prove the point that I mentioned when we first said Chat GPT. The quality of the output is impacted by the quality of the input.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, I wish if
And-
I knew this when I listed the house.
And
Now
the thing is,
now my
you-
description stinks compared to this.
well, I was going to ask you, since you have direct knowledge of the listing, does any of what you see here, do you see any tie back to your actual listing description?
It's exactly what it's even the appliances. It got the appliances in there. Everything is correct.
But was that in your description or no?
It's similar, but this one looks better. I mean, it
So
got the schools. It's talking about the location, the neighborhood. I didn't have that. No,
So I
it
think,
definitely did not pull it from me. No.
right? So what it might have done was it might have pulled information about, it might have recognized granite, it would have recognized stainless steel appliances. But what it's doing is it's giving you that polished framework and then pulling in those details that it's discovering on the internet to create a comprehensive description. Again, at the end of the day, you are the licensed agent. You're the one who stepped foot in the house. So it's your responsibility to make sure that what you're taking from this tool is accurate before you
Yeah.
publish it to the general public. But how crazy, if writing
This
is
is
not
better.
something you enjoy, if you feel like, you sort of crave that same sort of flowery language that you might see with other agents on other listing descriptions, here you go. This is a great first step. And you can save it, you can download it, you could copy and paste it into like Word or a Google Doc, and then edit it from there, and then copy it right into your MLS. So again, this is just one more tool that if you're trying to get organized, reduce the amount of time that you're spending on some of your marketing efforts so that your time can really be spent on the relationship aspect, on the knowledge and expertise aspects of the work that you do. I hope that you see that some of these tools can really be very effective and very beneficial in bringing them in, pulling them into your business. Okay. So having said that, I think, does anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts that you might want to share on any of the things that we've done today?
Hey, Deanna, I have a question.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. So on ChatGPT,
Yes.
does it only create descriptions or whatever you put into it? Or could you essentially plug in something that you've already written and then have it sort of zhoosh it up and change it around? And you know what I mean? Does it have that capability?
I think that you can. So what you would, I think, again, to the point of how you frame your input, if you're going to create a new chat, then I would say take this passage and make it more blank, whatever your adjective is. Whether you're trying to make something sound more professional, where maybe you're trying to make something sound less complicated, maybe more elementary. Maybe you're dealing with like a science subject that you kind of want to, I hate to use the phrase, but like sort of like dumb down to like everyday person language. I'm really curious. I would say definitely play around with it. It's free. So here's another rabbit hole. If you didn't spend enough time on Instagram and Facebook and then Canva, now you're going to get to do it with ChatGPT. I can tell you that I've found it's really creative. Like I've put in information about the funnels of real estate. Chris, my husband, has put in information about, like asking it to literally write a legal brief on a particular subject around real estate law. And it did it beautifully. Like the product was just, it does sort of blow your mind a little bit. And then once you experienced it, then you go back, and I really reflected on Tristan's comment last week about, things will come full circle, and we're going to come to the point where we want something that's human written, right? Homemade, as opposed to artificially generated. So you can imagine where this could go and what it could create. So certainly play around with it. It's really interesting. I have to say that I was first introduced to this by my college age student back in the fall. and quickly like shut it down. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about or what you're exploring, but you should just be studying and writing your own papers, period, end of sentence. Well, fast forward 120 days and the platform has literally blown up, and it's got colleges and universities around the country scrambling to find ways to sort of combat it and offset it. Because believe me, if my kid can find it, a whole lot of kids have found it. And it's taking all of that muscle and angst that people are having to spend around building the words out of the equation. So play around. I would love to hear if you can think of other ways that you could creatively leverage this, in a positive, resourceful way. I would love to hear how you're using it going forward. But certainly for the time that it takes us to come up with those listing descriptions, this is a quick hit that I would love to see you try. And going back to the one that we just did with Sarah, a little word like township can make a huge difference in your result. All right, awesome. Does anybody else? Do you have any questions? Thanks, Rochelle. It's always fun. Hi, Julianne. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're here with us today. So if you have any questions or any comments, if there's anything that you want to follow up on, I'll just throw my contact information back here at the beginning. Otherwise, we're going to make this content available on the YouTube channel so you can go back and watch it or grab any of the PowerPoint slides too. So what's your homework? Your homework is to go and really give some thought. If you don't feel like you have enough clarity around your branding, here's the time. Concentrate on the materials that we talked about today as your base, as your marketing foundation. Then you're going to invest in CMA energies, right? Learning, Core Present, and KV Core. Next week, we're going to continue on this strategy. How do we take all of our marketing basics and now how do we get better at open house marketing? How do we get more organized? How do we stop driving ourselves absolutely batty on the morning of an open house because we don't feel like we have a good process in place? How can we leverage technology to, again, lend well to our credibility to help people feel like they're getting to know, like, and trust us in the work that we do? So that'll be next week. And then the last 2 weeks in April, we're going to spend on social media and CRM automation, how to make those things work for you, even a little bit on autopilot, so that, again, your branding is consistent and you're not running amok trying to make it that way. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. And I will see you hopefully on Friday. As a reminder, if we head back to my Canva and take a look for Dr. Hamawi, he will be with us on Friday talking about how important it is that we, if there's something preventing us from what we feel is looking good, then it's preventing us from feeling good. So how important is it to feel beautiful so that you can project that to the world and into your business? All right. So hopefully you could join us 9 a.m. on Friday for Wellness Edge. Same Zoom link. So I'll see you then. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Thanks again.